Well, hello, everyone. Most of you know me, but for those who don't, my name is Katerina Bachevska. I'm originally from North Macedonia. I earned my bachelor's degree from the St. Cyril and Methodius University in Skopje under the guidance of Strašo Temkov. Following this, I earned my artist diploma from the Claudio Abbado School of Music in Milan, Italy, with Raffaele Trevisani. And as most of you know, I moved to the United States and earned my master's degree at the USM School of Music under the mentorship of Dr. Danilo Mezzadri. And the lecture recital I present today is in completion of my doctoral project for my doctoral degree in flute performance at the University of Southern Mississippi. We're going to talk about exploring the 19th century bel canto style in flute playing, selected compositions by Leonardo De Lorenzo. The subject of this research project is the accomplished and multifaceted Italian-American flutist, pedagogue, writer, and composer Leonardo De Lorenzo. Although a limited amount of information is available about De Lorenzo, the bulk of all substantial research on the musician is in Italian, thereby creating limited accessibility for those who are not fluent in the language. Despite his significant musical influences, De Lorenzo's legacy remains underappreciated outside of Italian-speaking circles, leaving a profound void in the knowledge of his unique musical and artistic vision. This project aims to bridge that void by providing contextualized information about this remarkable figure to a wider audience. While previous research has touched on various aspects of De Lorenzo's life and work, this project is specifically focused on his compositional output. Through carefully investigating his music, I highlight the mastery, virtuosity, elegance, and lyricism that distinguish De Lorenzo's compositions from those of his contemporaries. I convey that De Lorenzo's works represent a lasting example of the Italian bel canto style in late Romantic flute literature, characterized by its emphasis on melody and vocal-like qualities infused with traditional folk elements from his region, Potenza. Leonardo De Lorenzo, born in 1875, died 1962, a renowned flutist born in Italy, was a remarkable musician whose accomplishments spanned several decades and continents. After starting the flute at the age of 8, De Lorenzo had already established himself as a professional flutist of extraordinary skill and ability by his 16th birthday. His remarkable journey from a mostly self-taught prodigy to a celebrated professional flutist is a testament to his unyielding dedication and passion for music. His solid commitment to excellence and tireless musical knowledge and skill continue to inspire and influence musicians around the world today. In 1891, De Lorenzo immigrated to the United States in search of financial security and a brighter future. However, in 1896, he was summoned to serve in the city of Alessandria's military band for 1 year. Following military service, De Lorenzo toured and traveled frequently through Germany, England, and South Africa. And by the age of 25, in 1900, he secured a position as the principal flutist at the Cape Town Symphony in South Africa. After residing there for 7 years, he made the choice to complete his studies at the Naples Conservatory before embarking on his journey once more. During his stay at home, he received private lessons from Giacomo Nigro. Additionally, he advanced his flute skills under the guidance of Alfonso Pagnotti and delved into the art of composition by studying with Camillo de Nardis at the Naples Conservatory. In 1909, he returned to the United States and established himself as a leading performer and pedagogue. On his second try to immigrate to the United States, De Lorenzo managed to achieve notable positions in some of the most prestigious orchestras and conservatories of this country. Throughout his career, De Lorenzo served as the principal flutist for multiple distinguished ensembles, including the Cape Town Symphony, the New York Philharmonic, the Minneapolis Symphony, the Los Angeles Symphony, the Los Angeles Philharmonic, and the Rochester Philharmonic. It was not only his exceptional technical skills and musical talent that set him apart from his contemporaries. De Lorenzo was also a devoted teacher and mentor. For instance, De Lorenzo served as flute professor at the Eastman School of Music. His dedication to his students and the wider flute community is also evident in his numerous pedagogical writings and compositions. Following his retirement from the Eastman School of Music, De Lorenzo relocated to Santa Barbara, California, with his wife, the pianist Maud Peterson. There, he devoted himself to writing his book, My Complete Story of the Flute, along with numerous flute-related articles featured in the diverse publications. He also composed solo flute pieces, chamber music, and flute method books throughout the remainder of his lifetime. Perhaps one of De Lorenzo's most enduring legacies is his collection of biographies, My Complete Story of the Flute, the Instrument, the Performer, the Music. Written in 1951, this work reflects his enthusiasm for his fellow flute players and his unwavering commitment to preserving the individual stories of musicians from various periods of time. As the title implies, this book is divided into 3 separate sections. Initially, De Lorenzo provides a brief history of the flute, its evolution, and presents some of his collections of flutes throughout the years. The second part of the book delves into flute players from various corners of the globe. De Lorenzo compiles insights not only from renowned musicians, but also from their pupils, amateur flutists, and other dedicated flute enthusiasts. The final section of this work contains significant information regarding flute repertoire, notable composers who have written about the flute, and their compositions. In the addenda, De Lorenzo shares personal notes from his life, along with recollections of other flute players and other additional entertaining material. Some readers might find this book a bit controversial and gossipy because it is entertaining and it offers humorous remarks about individuals and events. Nevertheless, it should not diminish De Lorenzo's reputation as a flutist, composer, and a pedagogue. What began as a simple scrapbook eventually evolved into an influential work in the flute community, recognized for rich insights and invaluable historical perspective. Other than My Complete Story of the Flute, De Lorenzo's produced 10 flute method books. Given his significant technical expertise, these method books serve as valuable tools for enhancing a performer's musical and technical skills. De Lorenzo created approximately 300 compositions for solo flute, chamber music, etudes, and exercises. Leonardo De Lorenzo frequently incorporated traditional Italian musical elements into his compositions, showcasing his preference for the 19th century bel canto style of flute playing that was popularized during the rise of the Italian opera. Additionally, he drew inspiration from the folk music of his region, Potenza, further enriching his works with diverse cultural influences. And this project aims to explore how De Lorenzo masterfully blends these 2 musical components in his compositions. Leonardo De Lorenzo passed away on July 29, 1962, in Santa Barbara, California, where he resided during his retirement years, dedicating his time to his compositional and pedagogical contributions to the world. For those who are interested in further research about De Lorenzo, it is very important to note that all his theoretical, compositional, and pedagogical writings, including manuscripts, are archived at the University of Southern California. Placing composers and their works inside a historical context is very important. It's an important way to understand their styles and professional decisions. Therefore, I would like to share some brief contextualized information about Italy during the early 1900s, especially around the city of Potenza, De Lorenzo's place of origin. Potenza, the charming capital of the municipality and the regional capital city of the Basilicata, is situated on a picturesque hill in southern Italy, as you can see from the picture. It was known for its agricultural heritage and vibrant street musicians who created a lively atmosphere that resonated throughout the city. Today, with the revival of wheat festivals and folk music, this little town has regained prominence as a folkloristic tourist destination. Its folk music features both the saltarello and tarantella, or also called pizzica. De Lorenzo has composed two pieces that are based on these folk rhythms. They honor Viggiano, his hometown, located 60 kilometers south of Potenza. Potenza's history has been marked by unfortunate events, including occupations, revolts, revolutions, and frequent earthquakes. These periodic tragedies have caused a profound impact on the socio-political landscape of the region, mainly widespread destruction and poverty. Southern Italians have been migrating not only to the northern regions, but also to different countries and continents in search of better opportunities for themselves and their children. Leonardo de Lorenzo, who was born into a middle-class family, was one of the many Potenza region citizens who early on decided to depart and seek opportunity in the world. In the next slide, you'll see a map of earthquakes in Italy, and you can see from the picture, they're quite frequent and quite many. And Potenza is located around this yellow thing, circle over here, very close to it. And as you can see from the agenda here, you can see that the strength of these earthquakes are pretty high on the scale. The unification of Italy in 1861, which consolidated multiple states into a single entity, was a momentous occasion in the nation's history. It brought with it not only a sense of national unity, but also the opportunity to develop a stronger economy and political system. During that period, all regions in Italy were facing poverty, natural disasters, and overpopulation. Just as important as the physical unification and reconstruction, the Kingdom of Italy invested in the arts as a means of creating national identity, unifying the Italian people. Supported by wealthy patrons, Italia opera flourished, establishing itself as one of the most cherished and influential musical genres in Western history. As a result, Italian composers and performers gained worldwide recognition and acclaim. Beautiful melodies, dramatic storylines, and spectacular vocal performances of Italian opera captivated audiences across the globe and helped to spread the idea of the Italian bel canto. Now, the reason Gioacchino Rossini is on the picture of this slide is because he's the Italian composer who revolutionized this style in his operas. This trend extended to composers who adopted the style for a range of instruments and was not limited to vocalists alone. And De Lorenzo was among the Italian composers who used this style for his compositions for the flute. The term bel canto is often linked to the idea of beautiful singing voice, yet its literal translation is beautifully sung or beautiful song. While this style of singing is commonly associated with 19th century Italian opera, its origins can be traced back to the 17th and 18th centuries when there was a growing desire for a more expressive and sensual approach to music. Composers during this period incorporated the bel canto style of singing into their works, as seen in iconic pieces such as Handel's opera Rinaldo and Gluck's opera Orfeo and Eurydice, highlighting the style's focus on the beauty and emotional depth of the human voice, continuing to inspire audience throughout history. Understanding the components of bel canto is essential to truly appreciate its beauty and complexity. The key aspects of bel canto are tone resonance, register, range control, vibrato, breath support, and impeccable agility. By skillfully combining these elements, a singer can produce a well-rounded and effortless sound that supports the technique and ultimately creates a beautiful and melodious line, no matter the difficulty of the piece. In his work titled Resurgence of Bel Canto, Peter G. Davis draws attention to a noteworthy fact that sheds light on the enduring appeal of bel canto, saying, "The term itself literally means beautiful singing, an unhelpful definition since all singing should ideally be beautiful. But in the context of an opera by Donizetti and his contemporaries, bel canto refers to a specific vocal technique and the music that was composed to exploit it. Long breathed legato phrases, coloratura flights of running notes up and down the scale, intricate ornamentation, subtle effects of timbral color, and dynamic accents to bring out the music's full expressive potential." While bel canto is most associated with singers, the style has also been adopted by other instrumentalists, including flute players, whose instrument range is closely connected to the human voice. As such, it is not unusual for flutists to incorporate bel canto techniques into their teaching, method books, and performances. Although this style is largely affiliated with Italian opera, many French flute players and pedagogues use the art of bel canto in their performances and methods. A very important figure in the history of flute playing is Paul Toffanel, professor at the Conservatory and founder of the modern French flute school, who introduced bel canto principles in flute playing and teaching. Inspired by singers like Matilda Marchesi and Adelina Patti, Toffanel emphasized the importance of beautiful legato sound, long breathed melodies, and brilliant technical agility. This emphasis on singing through the flute was continued by his students, notably Marcel Moïse, who stressed musical expression over technical perfection. Jean-Pierre Rampal further promoted the bel canto style together with Alain Marion, teaching students to approach flute playing as a form of singing, both literally and figuratively, reshaping the very essence of flute pedagogy and performance. In her book, Bel Canto Flute, the Rampal School, Cheryl Cohen, a student of Rampal, shares some of her teacher's methods during her studies, highlighting their emphasis on the quality of tone on the flute, saying, when they were teaching repertoire, they rarely mentioned the flute. Rather, they taught to sing both literally and figuratively. In the next slide, you see the example of Rampal's and Marion's teaching methods. And as you can see, the emphasis is on the sing the tone, don't push the tone, sing and it will be in tune. Notes must sing, not more sound, not forced, singing immediately. Play difficult technical passages very slowly, each note well sung, because the problem is often sound and not fingers. Sing with internal shape, play with emotion, very simple, sing. It's the natural way. Don't force, sustain, sing. So all of this focus is on the word sing. The emphasis of their teaching was to convey the most beautiful tone on the flute as if it was a singing voice. The quality of tone was much more important than volume, as it contributed to aid intonation and technique. So when examining composition featured in competitions by French composers like Forest Fantasy, Chaminade's Concertino, Dutier's Sonatina, or Jolivet's Chant de Linos, it becomes evident that the modern French school prioritized qualities such as brilliance, passion, precision, and color in their musical approach. In contrast, when delving into works like Bricialdi's Carnevale di Venezia, Mercadante's Flute Concerti, or Morlacchi's Il Pastore Svizzero, it's clear that the modern Italian school learned more heavily on virtuosity, drama, vibrance, resonance, lyricism, character, and vigor, reminiscent of 19th century Romantic opera. Despite their differences, both schools advocated for vocal qualities in music, irrespective on the instrument in use. Several notable Italian flutists exemplified the bel canto style. Giulio Bricialdi was a virtuoso flutist known as the Paganini of the flute. In Ginevra Petrucci's words, the legend of the Prince of Flutists was destined to live on through the true essence of his example, the combination of art and craftsmanship, bel canto, and virtuosity. The next one is Leonardo De Lorenzo, whose contributions to the flute world form the focus of this particular research project. And last but not least, Severino Gazzelloni, a rare flute soloist in his time, was praised for his impeccable clarity, phrasing, and beautiful sound. These flutists collectively highlight the influence of bel canto on Italian flute performance. In the realm of flute playing, the bel canto techniques bear a striking resemblance to those employed by vocalists. Exploring the connection between singing a melody and subsequently playing it presents a new approach to tackling a melodic line. From personal experience, singing a melody before playing, it can significantly influence the outcome. There is something about vocalizing a tune that allows us to approach it in a different manner, bringing a fresh perspective and renewed energy to our playing. Before embarking on creating a musical interpretation of the piece, it is imperative for the performer to cultivate a sense of proficiency in their instrument. This was a point of unwavering emphasis in De Lorenzo's method books. And to authentically convey the beauty of bel canto, a performer must possess the complete toolkit required to build a robust foundation in their instrument. De Lorenzo's insistence on the importance of mastering fundamentals can be seen both in his compositions and pedagogy, as he emphasizes the development of proper technique and tone production in all of his works. Since many technical aspects are interwoven together to create a more cohesive product, it is essential that the performer develops a stable foundation embodying all components of flute playing to maintain a high level of proficiency. These components include posture, embouchure, lip flexibility, hand and finger position, articulation, vibrato, and breathing, to name a few. And they require comprehensive understanding and mastery of the technical aspects of the instrument. This is something that De Lorenzo was strongly advocating for in his compositions and method books. In addition to emphasizing tone and quality and seamless legato connections, De Lorenzo infuses his music with the demands of virtuosic technical agility and the ability to navigate effortlessly through all registers of the flute. In his article, Leonardo De Lorenzo, Gianluca Petrucci writes, his compositions replete with artifices of virtuoso brilliance, containing dazzling diminutions of each melodic element written within a spectacular, yet not atypical late Romantic vision. While bel canto was undoubtedly popular, particularly in 19th century Italian opera, with the advent of musical innovation and changing times, it eventually took a backseat to newer musical styles. people began to appreciate and embrace new forms of music, and bel canto gradually lost its popularity and prestige. Nonetheless, its influence remains, and its techniques continue to be studied and incorporated by many modern-day musicians. Leonardo de Lorenzo's compositional output is focused mostly on the flute. It comprises a wide range of compositions for solo flute, flute and piano, and chamber music. He also wrote 10 didactical works for the development of flute playing. Though his body of work is vast, it is unfortunate that only 1/3 of his compositions have been published. Through the available body of published works, it is evident that Leonardo de Lorenzo had an innate capability to infuse his music with a sense of lyrical grace and virtuosic dexterity, while simultaneously exploring a broad range of emotions and moods. The following are a few of de Lorenzo's compositions that have survived and have been published. He composed 10 didactic operas, 11 works for solo flute, 4 works for 2 flutes, 1 work for 3 flutes, 3 works for 4 flutes, 2 works for 5 flutes, 37 works for flute and piano, and 6 works for chamber ensembles. These compositions, along with several others, serve as a reminder of de Lorenzo's enduring influence on the world of classical music. As they are rediscovered and performed by contemporary musicians, they continue to captivate audiences, bridging the gap between the past and the present, and ensuring that de Lorenzo's musical legacy lives on for a generation to come. In 1904, de Lorenzo switched from the old system to the modern and improved Bohème flute system. During his transitional time to the new flute system, de Lorenzo composed some of his most significant works. His didactic work, L'Indispensabile, a modern school of perfection for the flute, is a complete method for the flute. The book contains a collection of 101 exercises, preludes, solos, trills, and fingering charts. It was a new technical method specifically designed to adapt his technique into a new fingering system and substantially improved instrument. To explain the purpose of his method book, de Lorenzo writes, "In these solos, I have endeavored to present every possible aid towards the acquisition of brilliant technical facility, as well as for the exploitation and mastery of expression and delicacy of phrasing, qualifications which, one and all, are so very necessary for evoking and revealing the inherent qualities of the distinctive and appealing nature of the flute." His method books are referred to as didactic operas because they encompass both musical and technical aspects reminiscent of 19th century Italian opera. Furthermore, several of these books feature collections of cadenzas, preludes, and exercises, and many were dedicated to his friends and esteemed colleagues. The performing part of this project explores 3 works by Leonardo de Lorenzo, which are L'Appassionato, Fantasia Sentimentale, Opus 5, Saltarello, Solo Caratteristico, Opus 27, and Pizzica Pizzica, Tarantella Vigianese, Opus 37. These compositions epitomize the fusion of de Lorenzo's roots with the influences of the bel canto style from 19th century Italian opera. This synthesis of influences forms a captivating musical journey that beautifully encapsulates the essence of both his personal heritage and the wider operatic traditions of the era. L'Appassionato, Fantasia Sentimentale, Opus 5, was written in Cape Town in 1904 and it was published in 1907. It was dedicated to his esteemed colleague and friend, flutist Edward de Jong. During his time in Cape Town, De Lorenzo had heard about the celebrated Dutch flutist's tour and decided to take the advantage of the opportunity to showcase some of his compositions to him. To his surprise, De Jong contacted him hastily and even invited him to play with his orchestra in England. This built a lasting friendship that resulted in the dedication of the L'Appassionato Opus 5. The piece is abundant with the same type of lyricism found in the traditional elements of 19th century Italian opera. It includes long and lyrical melodies like vocal arias, wide ascending and descending phrases, frequent character changes, and virtuosic passages, all important aspects of the Romantic period. De Lorenzo's L'Appassionato Opus 5 requires impeccable agility and profound musical expression. As mentioned earlier, in 1904, De Lorenzo was experimenting with the Bohème flute system, and he took full advantage of the improved flute system. Bohm's innovations brought a revolutionary change in flute playing. The wider bore enhanced the flute's tone, making it clearer and more robust. The addition of enlarged and metal keys optimized finger placement, ensuring consistency and improved intonation. Cross-fingering was also greatly reduced, creating a more fluid technical facility. And the transition from wood to metal expanded the instrument's dynamic and tone range, providing greater opportunities for expressive nuances. And De Lorenzo creatively utilized these benefits in his compositions and method books by incorporating passages across all registers of the flute at different tempos, exploring dynamic progressions and contrasts, crafting melodies that challenge intonation, experimenting with tone color, and demanding technical agility. In a brief review of the piece, flutist and music publisher Jelko Pesek writes, in comparison with other works of this period, like Cantabile in Presto by Enescu, Barcarola and Scherzo by Casella, or with the Concertino by Chaminade, De Lorenzo's L'Appassionato Opus 5 does not shy away from the aforementioned compositions. Because these pieces are considered staple works within the standard flute repertoire, frequently performed in flute competitions around the world, it is essential to notice the importance of this particular work. L'Appassionato Opus 5, an early work written by a young flutist with no professional training as a composer, holds substantial musical and technical complexity, posing a challenge to the performer's abilities. De Lorenzo frequently introduces additional subtitles in his compositions to create a more precise idea about the piece and to instigate a deeper emotional response in the listener. For instance, his L'Appassionato Opus 5 is accompanied by the subtitle Fantasia Sentimentale. As the title indicates, this fantasy has many lyrical and dramatic passages, and it is structured in a true composed form. As you can see in the next figure, the piece opens with a piano introduction, functioning like an operatic overture, gradually building an intense character that sets the stage for the flute's dramatic entrance during the entering cadenza-like solo. In the preface of the piece, Gianluca Petrucci writes, this work combines cantabile parts that feature the fiery lyricism of the late Romantic period with parts of demanding technical virtuosity that could be mastered with the new flute module. It has thus played a role in the efforts to define and maintain flute-specific elements of style for the 20th century. Many compositions of a similar type were composed in an improvisatory form, with short ideas developing into elaborate segments. In fact, most of L'Appassionato Opus 5 is based on simple melodies that advanced in more complex ideas interweaved with cadenza material. The example you see in figure 3 illustrates the gradual emergence of a modest melody that swiftly evolves into a restless progression, ultimately culminating in a fiery cadenza before easing into a serene state ready to recommence in the next section. As the primary theme returns to its tranquil state, the simmering sequence of progression provokes a growing agitation that steadily intensifies, ultimately culminating in the upcoming cadenza as depicted in this example. These musical motifs collectively evoke a tumultuous sense of unease and change of character, which are typical elements of the 19th century Italian opera. This style of composing is a common occurrence throughout the piece. In fact, many flute players and composers from the Romantic period, such as Bricialdi, use the same method in their compositions. They would present a musical idea and develop it by continuously expanding it with technical aspects. The melodic themes often relate to arias, imbuing the piece with lyrical and operatic qualities, punctuated by sudden changes of character and capricious elements. In the next example, De Lorenzo showcases frequent changes within a short segment that occur throughout the piece. Though through these constant variations in tempo and character, he skillfully reveals the ambiguous and passionate nature of L'Appassionato Opus 5. In his arrangement for the flute, L'Appassionato Opus 5, De Lorenzo skillfully integrates several common characteristics often encountered in 19th century Italian opera, such as unpredictability, musical and dramatic expressions, as well as extreme exaggeration. He drew several vital elements from the bel canto style, including abrupt shifts in character, extended legato melodies, and the pronounced use of sostenuto notes. Okay, and now I will present my performance of L'Appassionato Opus 5, Fantasia Sentimentale, together with my piano collaborator, Mr. Xiaolei Zi. So I have chosen the following two compositions because they exemplify how De Lorenzo's cultural heritage influenced his music. And I would like to provide a brief overview of their origins as they are introduced, starting with De Lorenzo's Saltarello Caratteristico, Opus 27. Derived from 15th century court dance, there were two categories of dances prevalent during this period, balli and basse danze. The former category featured a more rigorous and demanding choreography, incorporating dramatic and theatrical elements into their performance. The latter, basse danze, did not necessarily adhere to any strict choreography and had a more vibrant, energetic, and casual character. Basse danze is subdivided into four different kinds of dances: viva, saltarello, quaternaria, basse danza, each with distinct tempo, rhythm, and steps. Saltarello is one of the types of basse danze with the literal meaning of a little hop. It is typically in ternary form with a 6/8 rhythm. Although originally a courtly dance, musical elements of Saltarello have persisted in traditional folk tunes in Italy through the beginning of the 18th century. In her article about the Saltarello, Meredith Ellis Little writes, "This dance in 3/4 or 6/8 was generally danced alone or by one couple and consisted of increasingly rapid hopping steps around an imaginary semicircle, accompanied by violent arm movements. Musical accompaniment was provided by guitars, tambourines, and often by singing of onlookers." And De Lorenzo Saltarello, Solo Caratteristico, Opus 27, was based on this particular dance. Dedicated to the Italian flute professor at the Parma Conservatory and virtuoso Paolo Cristoforetti, De Lorenzo's virtuosic Saltarello is lively and energetic. The speed and the 6/8 rhythm help to reveal the typical characteristics of this dance. The continual triplet passages evoke the image of dancers spinning around, and the accent markings generate a pronounced beat that mirrors their hopping motions. Written in ternary ABA form, the A section displays the cheerful part of the dance. It also reflects some of his other compositions like Il Velivolo or The Airplane, with his use of rapid triplets and chromaticism throughout the piece. The B section, however, introduces a gentler and more tranquil mood, while the central theme of the dance persists throughout the piece. With a somewhat repetitive quality, De Lorenzo introduces a more cantabile character in the B section. Departing from the previous lively tempo, the new theme presents a lyrical melody full of expression and dynamic motion, evoking the impression of a 19th century aria. He even includes all the necessary dynamic changes throughout the section, an indication of De Lorenzo's didactic principles in his compositions. These changes occur frequently, highlighting the importance of mastering the fundamental techniques of the instrument to achieve effortless performance of the bel canto style. Following a brief middle section and a rapid triplet culmination, the piece returns to the same fiery dance as the A section. However, this time it does not deviate from the explosive finale. In the coda, De Lorenzo employs an unending progression of arpeggiated triplets that quickly ascend and descend through the flute. While he still incorporates the hopping accents, they are marked under a slurred line, as you can tell from the example in the slide, indicating that these particular notes should be stressed, but the smoothness of the melody should not be interrupted. Furthermore, since the piece is written in perpetual motion, De Lorenzo does not leave much space for the performers to breathe. As a result, strong breath support is crucial for achieving an optimal performance of the piece. De Lorenzo consistently highlights the vital role of expressive interpretation within melodic phrases for the performance. He also underscores the significance of establishing a strong connection between the voice, the instrument, and the precise manipulation of dynamics and colors as conveyed throughout musical terminology. These elements are intrinsic to the well-established traditional Italian musical style, which bears influence from the music of the 19th century Italian opera. I will now show my performance of Leonardo de Lorenzo Saltarello, Solo Caratteristico, Opus 27. During the 1400s, in the southern region of Italy, a ritual called Tarantism or La Taranta emerged, drawing inspiration from Greek mythology. The term La Taranta initially referred to the effects of a venomous spite, which included symptoms like nausea, pain, and muscle spasms. Some theories suggest that the dance ritual associated with Tarantism was more rooted in mythology and theatricality rather than being a direct response to the spider bite. And it is possible that the perceived symptoms were exaggerated and the dance ritual served as a symbolic and cleansing means of addressing these afflictions. The primary objective of the Tarantism dance ritual was to rid oneself of the symbolic bite that represented the poisonous possession. Typically accompanied by music played on a mandolin, on tambourine, the ritual featured a specific style of music known as pizzica, which translates to bite in Italian. Pizzica encompassed a fast-paced rhythm with rapid and repetitive runs, culminating in movements that depicted the possessed state of the affected person. De Lorenzo's Pizzica Pizzica, Tarantella Vigionese, Opus 37, unmistakably attempts to create a musical portrait of the typical features of Tarantism. Published in 1931 and dedicated to his professor Giacomo Nigro, this piece unveils the fiery of the music with its initial prestissimo tempo marking, as you can see from the example here. Following the traditional character of the dance, the theme presents a set of triplets in 6/8 rhythm that prevail until the end of the composition. As depicted in the next example, the middle section of Pizzica Pizzica features a more serene and melodic character, indicated by chromaticism, contrasting dynamics, and arpeggiated crescendos and decrescendos. This section serves to portray the trance and delusion of the affected person. However, the musical elements in these rituals served a dual purpose. While they aimed to portray the trance-like state of the affected individuals, they also possessed a lyrical quality infused with rubato melodies. These melodies ebbed and flowed, creating a dynamic and expressive musical experience typically found in the music of the late Romantic period. Despite the lyrical nature, the music retained its intense character, reflecting the delusional state of the person undergoing the ritual. As previously mentioned, the dance ritual involved sudden stomps from the dancers as they desperately attempted to rid themselves of the venom. De Lorenzo highlights this element by emphasizing the first beat of the triplets and rushing through the bubbling and progressively culminating melody. Through an intentional emphasis on the higher note of the triplet, the composer evokes an unsettled sensation in the listener. This musical technique effectively portrays the trembling and shaking movements of the dancer, adding an element of unease to the overall performance. De Lorenzo portrays the process of removing the poison through the gradual progression of ascending and intensifying triplets, building up momentum and energy. The culmination of the musical progression manifests in a bold and explosive con bravura finale to the ritual, perhaps symbolizing the successful removal of the venom. De Lorenzo's Saltarello and Pizzica Pizzica were composed as a tribute to his hometown and region, showcasing his distinct compositional style. While retaining his unique characteristics, these pieces also incorporate typical musical elements from the late Romantic period. As previously mentioned, some of these elements encompass virtuosic brilliance, both technical and musical agility, extensive melodic phrases, accentuation, and sostenuto notes taken to an exaggerated level, demanding cadenzas, lyrical expression, dramatic flair, abrupt shifts in character, and the creation of restless progressions and culminations. Each of these aspects draws its inspiration from the realm of the 19th century Italian opera. The next slide will present my performance of Pizzica Pizzica, Tarantella Vigianese, Opus 37. Although De Lorenzo's compositions are not considered to be groundbreaking or revolutionary, they exhibit a remarkable degree of technical skills and an emphasis on the fundamental capabilities of the instrument. Consequently, his works serve as an excellent instructional resource for musicians of all skill levels, underscoring the significance of mastering the basics prior to advancing to more intricate pieces. Despite this, his music remains engaging and enjoyable, showcasing his mastery of the flute and his ability to infuse traditional Italian melodies with contemporary elements. These musical traditions embodied the essence of the 19th century bel canto style in flute playing. Overall, De Lorenzo's contributions for musicians around the world, demonstrating the enduring power of the importance of mastering fundamentals. His impact on the world of music is profound, and his compositions and performances continue to inspire and influence musicians around the globe. As such, this project provides an opportunity to shed light on some of his achievements and bring greater attention to his life and career. By exploring his music and sharing his story, we can deepen our understanding of the ways in which his work has shaped the field of flute playing and celebrate his legacy for future generations of musicians. In this way, we can ensure that his contributions to the world of music are not forgotten, but rather continue to be recognized and valued for years to come. Before I end my presentation, I would like to express my sincere gratitude and appreciation to Dr. Danilo Mezzadri for his constant encouragement and support throughout this project. Your guidance has been truly invaluable, not only in this paper or project, but also throughout my academic journey. I feel very fortunate to have established a profound professional connection with you that I believe will last a lifetime. I would like to thank my committee members for dedicating their time and expertise to advise me on this project. And I would like to thank you all for attending this lecture recital today. I have attached my bibliography sources that I have used for this particular lecture, if you want to go and take a look at them. I have also attached my performance links that go directly to my YouTube videos. And if you have any questions, we can talk about after the lecture. And if you have additional questions, I provided my contact information. So if you have any questions regarding anything, you can feel free to send me an email. Thank you very much.